Welcome, everybody. What I'd like to do actually, which I'm just going to take 20 seconds. If you're not speaking, if you could just put yourself on mute, that would be respectful for everybody, just that way there's no background noise. But I want to invite you to take 20 seconds and I want to invite you to close your eyes and just find your breath and bring your attention to your breath. And let's just take a few conscious breaths to center ourselves, to really land here at this meeting. So just catching the inhalation, exhalation, wherever you are, and just really dropping into your breath. And as you do so, just let go of everything that you may still be holding from the day. Let's just consciously let it go. The most powerful thing we can do is really bring our attention to a point of focus. And that's where we can really execute the best of ourselves, not when our attention is fragmented. So I want to encourage you to be as present as you can through this meeting, if only for that practice. But I'm sure in doing so, you'll find a whole depth of appreciation for the people on this call and the information that they are sharing with you. So one more breath. Just really letting go, dropping into this space. Thank you. Thanks, Ken, Cara, John, for your comments in the chat. So I'll do an introduction for Transformative Technologies, who are one of the key partners that have brought this event together. The 2022 Wellness Technology Sector Update. And I'll talk a little bit, give you a brief background on myself. But beyond that, I'll throw to David from Silicon Beach, Australia, to do an introduction. And then I'll briefly introduce our panelists. And then we'll jump into the panel. Panel will go to about 7:10, at which point we'll have some breakout rooms and there'll be an opportunity to have a general conversation, network, get to know each other, and ask questions of the panel members if that makes sense. And we'll do that for 15 minutes and then we'll come back, wrap up, and we'll be done 6:30 AEDT, so New South Wales time, Victoria time. All sound good? Let us know in the chat, give us some love. It's always good. All right, so a little bit of background, a little bit about me. So for the past decade, I run a startup incubator called The Space. We're based in Cairns until 2020, but more recently, we've operated virtually like much of the world. And more specifically, we've been focused in on supporting the Transformative Technologies ecosystem. Transformative Technologies is a global movement headquartered out of Silicon Valley. And for the past 7+ years, they've been actively supporting entrepreneurs and innovators who are developing and applying exponential technologies to mental health, well-being, human performance, and potential. And they support by way of, they run an international conference, they have an online community, they run startup programs, research, they develop research reports with key partners. They have regional chapters throughout the world, of which Australia is one. And within Australia, with the support of our state, it was Queensland, and federal governments, we've run a host of programs within Australia to support our local founders in the wellness tech space, including last year we did a 4-month mentoring program where we had an expert in residence. And I'm hoping Anuraj was able to join the call. He's one of our panel members. I haven't seen him jump on yet, but he's undergone eye surgery yesterday, but I'll talk more about that when we introduce him. Me though, I'm super passionate about the wellness sector, and I feel like getting well is just the beginning. What's beyond wellness? We move into mental and physical performance, exploration of our evolving potential. We move into we move into an exploration of becoming, consciousness itself. And for me, that's what's really exciting. That's where I'm actively involved with my startup called I Am Connected. And it's why I donate time and effort to the Transformative Technologies vision of elevating the consciousness of 1 billion people by 2030. So that's a little bit of a background on Transformative Tech, a little bit of background on me. I'm going to throw to David to just give us an introduction on Silicon Beach, Australia.
Thank you. I'm trying to learn new things here that I just learned from you. Hello, welcome everyone from my side as well. My name is David. I'm the CEO and C3PO of Silicon Beach, Australia. If you haven't heard of us, then a little bit of a history to Silicon Beach. We got founded in 2008 by the first tech startup founders in Sydney back then. Basically, we're the first startup community of Australia before there were startups in Australia. Some of our famous early members include such famous names as Mike Cannon-Brooks from Atlassian, who was one of the first 30 members joining Silicon Beach back then in Sydney. And yeah, over the years, life changed, the world changed. We transitioned into a hobby niche. We became, for a brief amount of time in 2015, the largest startup community on Meetup globally. And now since 2020, since I took over, we're working on creating Australia's #1 startup community. Our slogan is from first to #1. And our vision and mission is it to combine and bring all startup communities, all founders and everyone who's interested in the startup space in Australia together, breaking through silos of regions and industries. That's what we do. We do it by running pitch night events, open mic nights on Zoom, where everyone, regardless how raw the startup idea is, can get onto stage for 90 seconds and pitch, get feedback from experienced people in the startup ecosystem. And from there on, we take you on a journey to build whatever dream you have. So if you don't know us yet, I will put all our social links into the chat. And yeah, not much more to say, but hey, enjoy the night and have fun. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I've known about Silicon Beach for, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 years. And we, as a startup community in far north Queensland, in Cairns, where I was based, we used to run a whole bunch of different events. And I met up with Silicon Beach organizers in Brisbane at a networking event. And they would get like 300 plus people to such events. And I'm like, wow, how do you guys do it? And they say, you know, free beer and free pizza. And I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. So we actually started a Silicon Beach chapter in Cairns, and we call it Silicon Reef because, you know, the Great Barrier Reef. Our beaches are beautiful, but our reef is even more spectacular up there. And I just think it's great when we can not reinvent the wheel, when we can partner with other regions to really build momentum. Because one of the things that you learn very early on in the startup space, in the innovation space, that it takes a village to raise a venture. There's lots of key stakeholders, and the more that we can support ourselves with the right players, and that's what these ecosystems are about, the easier it becomes. And I know a lot of people on the call, or at least some of the people on the call, sorry, are very much in that ecosystem activation role where they're supporters of the founders. So for the founders on the call, just let us know in the chat if you are a founder, if you're actively working on a startup, and if you're a supporter, if you could let us know in the chat as well, that would be fantastic. So now let's jump into the panel. I'm really excited to have these 4 people in the one room and be able to, pick their brains and really drop into their expertise and their networks there. What they see is happening in this wellness space. Like we see, health tech, a lot happening in the health tech, and I was reading a global Wellness Institute report recently, and they say one of the major trends that we're seeing is a shift from a reactive healthcare system to more of a proactive wellness system. So it's not so much about treating the disease after it's happened, it's getting ahead of the curve and being proactive so that we don't get the disease. And a lot of the people within this call are actually actively supporting that transition and looking to ride that wave, which is really exciting. So by way of introducing our panel, we have Paula. Paula's the founder and managing director of Impact Minds, which is her own consultancy startup in this wellness space, where she works with people, communities, and teams in the wellbeing, resilience, purpose, and performance space. At the same time, though, she's the community director at Transformative Technologies Global. I've had the pleasure of working with Paula over the last probably 3 years now, and she's such a great mind and an incredible asset to any community in our endeavors of building out a support structure for founders. She's a psychologist and former Stanford research collaborator. I'll let Paula tell us a little bit more about her, but if we could just give Paula a little yay. What do we do on Zoom? Is a clap, shake. Thanks so much for taking the time. I think you're on CET time. I'm always unsure of exactly where you're beaming in from because you move around. Like, are you in Spain at the moment, Paula?
No, I'm not. I'm in the Netherlands, but good try.
Well, welcome. I look forward to hearing more from you when we start the panel. And thank you so much for giving up your time to be here. And so,
thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is absolutely ours. So our next speaker, Anuraj, I can see that you are on the call. Thanks for making it. Anuraj underwent major eye surgery yesterday. He is becoming transhuman. Now has bionic eyes that shoot lasers. And so he can actually read your mind as well with his eyes, I'm pretty sure. Isn't that right, Anuraj?
Sure is, Troy. Thank you again. Yeah, I'm sorry I'll just hear an audio today, but I am certainly getting more transhuman and staying strong and positive, recovering quickly. Yeah.
Little jokes aside, Anuraj is an incredible ambassador for this wellness sector. He's internationally recognized exponential thought leader. He's got 30 years experience working across mobile ecosystems spanning 5 continents, including huge companies like Siemens, Sharp, T-Mobile, Optus, NASA. He's a member of the global faculty at Singularity University, and he was our expert in residence for our 2021 Transformative Technology Australia mentoring program. And he's significantly helped a number of those founders grow and evolve what they were doing. So thanks for being here, mate. And seriously though, he did undergo eye surgery yesterday, and the fact that he's here just shows how passionate he is for this ecosystem. So thanks, mate, for taking the time out, and I look forward to dropping in with you on the panel.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
And Cara Burns Dr. Cara Burns is our next panel member that I have the pleasure of introducing. Cara's like a veteran in this healthcare space, 15 years experience working as a healthcare professional, 8 years in health service research, and 5 years experience promoting and managing health innovation. She's got specialist skills in business development, innovation, research, education, and transformative technologies. Like seriously, you're like a little piece of everything. Like you are the researcher in residence for Transformative Technologies. And I look forward to really just dropping in with you. Thanks so much for being here. You are like a sought after resource in this health innovation space.
Thank you, Troy, and looking forward to sharing some of my background and some of my perspectives on the wellness industry and what the potential is. So hi everybody, and if at some point everyone can turn their cameras on so I can see you, or so we can all see you, that would be great as well.
And we could take a screenshot for our
Yes.
social media. That would be great as well. So please switch it on.
Yay, Cara. So I didn't do the hands for Anuraj and Paula, but there we go. But then I'm sure they got lots of love. So, and our final, last but not least, panel member, Dran, you're program director at Cohort Innovation Space, which is sort of a health tech focused or even tech focused startup incubator here on the Gold Coast. And last year you ran Luminax as the program director, which is a health tech accelerator. And as it turns out, on the 28th, which is in 4 days' time, you're opening applications for cohort number 2. So for those people on the call, it's a great opportunity. I'll ask Dran to tell us a little bit more about it as we go. You're also chapter director for Startup Grind. So you've got extensive experience in the startup and health tech, wellness tech innovation space. So we're really lucky to have you on the panel. Thanks for coming, Dran.
Thanks, Roy, and hi everyone. Glad to be here. Looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so with regards to the panel, I've got some individual questions that I've drafted up for each of the panel members. And so I'll start with Paula from a macro global point of view. And so whilst Paula, we'll get you to answer first. If anybody else would like to contribute anything, sorry, by anyone, I mean the panel members, Cara, Anuraj, or Dran, please do jump in and we'll move through the questions. I'll keep an eye on the time. I'll make sure that I manage the questions so that everybody, all the panel members get some questions directly related to them, because each of the people on this panel have expertise that we want to drop into. So, but I am going to start with Paula. Paula, you know, as the director of global community for Transformative Technologies, from a global perspective, like what are some of the shifts you've seen in the wellness technology sector over the past 2 years? Like trends, investment dollars in the sector, or things just generally?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's interesting because we are very in touch with the sector and you know, several startups that are emerging, as well as with you know, investment partners who are very focused on this specific space. And you know, it's a little bit of everything related to your question. So there's one part of you know, the trends that have been taking place here, and you know, that's also very related with the amount of investment. I guess that everybody in this call is aware of the, you know, the growth interest of the well-being and technology space, you know, which is, you know, it also unfortunately comes with you know, the pandemic that we are suffering, that we're just trying to recover from. But that's the positive side. There has been a huge, you know, increment, sorry, of the amount of money invested in the space. That you know, that amount has doubled from 2019 to 2020, and has happened the same in 2021. So there is around $18 billion invested in the space. And you know, not only that, but also the number of transactions that have taken place you know, in the space has also doubled from last year, sorry, from 2020 to 2021. And you know, that's also connected with the trends in the space. So on the one hand, corporates are starting to be more aware and are you know, increasing the activities that are taking place in the, you know, well-being space. And you know, there has been several strategies. The most common one is obviously looking for startups in the space and bringing them into their office and starting to provide more services for their employees to take care of their emotional well-being, nutritional, physical well-being. But the big corporations have also, you know, taken different strategies. So they have started to partner with, you know, public health insurances. They have started to develop their own healthcare solutions, within the company, which is also very interesting. And they are starting to acquire startups and well-being tech companies. Now, in terms of the trends in the space and what has changed from 2019 to 2020 and 2021 is that because of the corporate being more interested in these solutions that have many well-being technologies that have started to realize that after the success they have had with B2C strategies, they are starting to move into more B2B sales, because of this increasing of understanding within the corporate world the need of invest in employee well-being that will be somehow return into more productivity. There's also a switch from in real life to digital solutions, obviously, because we all have moved to remote and also companies and startups in transformative tech have realized the need to implement digital solutions so that anyone can benefit from them at any time. There is also, and this is interesting in this space, a growth in the research of psychedelics, especially for the treatment of several mental health issues. The leading one being MDMA for PTSD. But this is still a very, very early stage. But it's really interesting for me. But that it requires still time for solutions to be scalable, especially because of regulations and because it takes time to do the research. And then finally, I think everybody has heard about the metaverse, but well-being, transformative tech has also played an important role here. There is several evidence-based products that are focused on supporting well-being and performance that are also part of the metaverse. And maybe everybody is not familiar, but Trip is one of the biggest companies in this space that have they use applied VR for numerous experiences related to mindfulness, consciousness, and there is also augmented reality. But overall, those are the biggest trends in the space that we have seen, and we expect even more changes to come this year. But yeah, I would also love to hear other views from that, maybe from Cara and Jordan.
Yeah, that makes sense. So increase in investment dollars. Obviously, COVID has activated a general sense that we need to help elevate people's general sense of well-being. Corporates are getting on board, creating their programs. Things have gone more digital because it was remote for a while. And so we're seeing a lot of innovation in this space, which is kind of what you highlighted. But even, on the fringe stuff, which is like psychedelics, and now as we start entering the digital space through the metaverse, that all makes sense. It's just such incredible opportunity in this sector, I believe, particularly as we move from mental health into well-being, and then, then what? It's like an evolving conversation. Does anybody else want to add any comments to the question from the panel? No pressure. Otherwise, I do have a follow-up question for Paula regarding, because a lot of what Transformative Technologies Global do is, you partner with key research. So it is about understanding the trends and seeing where things are, seeing where this sector's going. I remember reading one particular report, which is the wellness tech state of the market. It was in Q4 2020, where you partnership with Influence. I'm not sure if you recall that report, but if you recall that report, can you tell us a little bit about that report and what it covered? It'd be a great resource. It's available on the Transformative Technologies website, which I'll post into the chat. But do you mind just sort of sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's true. So, because we are a key player in the space, we partner with several organizations, which is really interesting to, develop knowledge, develop learning opportunities also for our community. The one that you're referring to, by the way, was from 2020, and this year also Influence Partners have released the 2021 report, which, if anybody's interested as well in getting it, is a very, very intensive and extensive report. And, the same as the one from last year, it's focused on the state of the market of the, wellness technology, which is also an area that Transformative Tech covers. It's very intensive. I can give you a brief overview, but basically, it speaks more or less about what I just shared with you, which is what are, the changes and the trends in the market, what is the volume of investment and deals made in the States, in the sector, and it also speaks about what are the several areas that Wellbeing Tech covers, starting from body and physical wellness, including nutrition, fitness, personal care as well, and then also because we speak about, as you say, this is a spectrum which includes mental and emotional wellness, and we talk about therapeutics, other wellness experiences, but also meditation and mindfulness. And at the same time, it also covers all the areas on workplace and life wellness, with everything related to the corporate strategies, and how that's tackled into the individual space, but also the community in the workspace, and what are the interactions cross sectors as well. What are the biggest companies that are leading in the space, as well as emerging ones, and which are the ones that are have got a high investment, which acquires have taken place in the space. That talking about the report that we did in collaboration with Influence Partners, but we also develop other reports as we start to see needs to cover knowledge in several spaces. We speak about gaming, we speak about places, mobility, we speak about well-being in this space. So yeah, we work a lot in developing this kind of like intelligence for the community. And if anybody is interested, as I just mentioned, there has been a very, very recently report released, which I think would be very very useful for anyone here.
Thanks, Paula. I was just typing a response to John's question. He was asking about investment in this, in Australia, and how it compares to the global. Really, I feel like that it's more focused around health tech at the moment, biotech, and some of the other exponential technologies related to health. But increasingly, we're seeing we're getting more and more ahead of the curve and looking at wellness, and wellness, and then performance, human and physical performance and mental performance is what we're sort of seeing. Does anybody else? Dren, you're off mute. Did you want to add anything?
I guess with the investment thing, we're seeing in general with health, there's an increased amount of funding just in the last year, like huge increase compared to what's been happening on the funding with health and wellness in general in Australia. With LuminaX, we got $500,000 of investment for this cohort of 2022. So that's just part of a 10 million funding, which is health, which is meant for health startups and wellness. So basically, I don't know the stats compared to the global. I know US is it's huge, like it's a thing. It's one of the most one of the most attractive sectors right now. But I think Australia is going to follow up on that as well, and we're seeing that through funds. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to share that even though this doesn't relate to the wellness tech, between about March 2020 and September 2021, the Medicare benefits scheme saw 21 million submissions around mental health, which equated to $2.3 billion worth of services. So that's very much in the traditional medical mental health, but it just shows you the kind of, the people are out there looking for something. They really are. We know that through COVID, Australians' anxiety increased from 13% of the population to 21% of the population. Depression increased from about 10% to 27%. So that, we definitely know that there's a need out there, and COVID really, really focused the spotlight on that.
Thanks, Cara. And thanks, Paula. I think the research that Transformative Technologies is doing with key partners like Influencer, really, it's a huge asset for the wellness sector as a whole. So thank you. And I'm excited to check out the 2021 report. I haven't seen that one yet. And I encourage everybody to do that as well, to jump on and download those reports, because there's a wealth of information in there. And getting involved in the transformative technology community within Australia, within our community, but then globally as well, because ultimately it's about supporting entrepreneurs and innovators. And so on that note, Paula, what can we look out for from the Transformative Technologies global perspective this year? And how do people get involved? I know we've actually got a strategy call coming up next week, but what's on the radar that what's going to help our founders?
Yeah, well, we have this call. One of the things we usually do, and I encourage everyone to get back to us and let us know what's your needs, because that's what we like to focus on. But there's several projects that we are working at the moment, and there is also several of them ahead, just so that you guys know we are a community. So for us, it's very important that there are opportunities for the community to connect more, and especially right now, since borders are open in terms of connection and networking. We are promoting more and more spaces that are both topic center and vertical center and industry center, but also interest based. So it's an opportunity to talk about like several areas that are interesting for you, but also an opportunity to connect with the person that you want to, and that will help you kind of take the leap and move to the next stage in your business. That on the one hand, but also we are really looking forward to getting back and connecting in person. I don't know if many of you know, but we usually host an annual conference that stopped because of COVID, because it's a huge conference and takes place every year in Palo Alto. We are looking forward to regulations to allow us to come back and again being able to bring our community together, and it's a very interesting space because it's really an experience. That's where you can get and test the technologies that are emerging in this space, what our community is creating and developing. And so it's also something we are planning on, and we are thinking on what that might be possible. We are also thinking, and we are also developing learning opportunities. We used to have as well an academy that took place every year, and it was more focused on early stage entrepreneurs who were still either looking for funding or getting their technologies polished and functional as well. So we are redesigning this TT Academy experience for the community. And so you can, expect for that. And then lastly, one of the other things that we are doing is, kind of picking and choose strategic partnerships with, other providers that can bring value to the community, that can provide, opportunity to expose our technologies, expose our community, as well as, other sorts of value that might benefit anyone here, especially our entrepreneurs and innovators in the space. So, in the end, all what we do is to help entrepreneurs. In the end, what's more important for us is that we have all a collective efforts into bring so many people into well-being space. So, everything we do is to empower our community to grow and thrive, right? And under their technologies to get out in the world and, being used by anyone. So, again, if anyone has specific interests, I just encourage everyone to reach out to me, because we are really, really, considering, what are our upcoming paths and our coming goals for this year and the years that come.
Thanks. Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Paula. If you could put your LinkedIn into the chat, that would be probably a great way to connect with you. And
I'm actually going to put in my email.
Yeah, email. By all means, loop people back to me if it's something that we can support on a local level. So thanks, Paula. I appreciate you sharing. I feel like it's such, like I mentioned before, being part of Silicon Beach within the local ecosystem was hugely beneficial, but being part of a global ecosystem within Transformative Technologies is really empowering, because we're able to connect with people around the globe, different stakeholders, and it just makes it easier to get our ideas up and out. Thanks, Paula. So Anuraj, we haven't been able to pin Anuraj onto the panel. You'll see how everyone's kind of pinned in a panel-like format. Maybe it's because your video is off, but Anuraj, we appreciate you being here so much. I have a question or a few questions for you.
Sure.
Last year, you were contracted for the Transformative Technology as our expert in residence. You did a fantastic job. You work with founders to help move them along the commercialization runway. Can you talk about some of the exciting innovations you supported as part of our Transformative Technology Australia community?
Yeah, sure, Troy. Thanks for that. I think, firstly, I just want to say what a privilege it was to work with you, and a real fun and rewarding experience to be in that EIR role. I'll give a few examples of some of the companies. So starting with, say, Positive Prime, which had actually pitched also at the Global Transformative Technology event. And who's the founder of that, we found that she's, had come a long way, but really was missing a few elements like key technology integration and facets to sort of bring together on a convergent level to differentiate with a real deep of exponential technology.
Your audio is just sort of moving in and out, mate. I'm not sure.
Is it? Sorry. Maybe I'll try and put on headphones. Just give me a second.
That's okay. Just kind of going a bit in and out.
Yeah. Because is that better? Wait, I'm just switched to headphones.
That's good.
Is that better? Yep. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Just want to avoid looking at a screen. Sorry, with my eyes watering right now and just going through pain in my eyes. Sorry. Yeah. So saying Positive Prime, Kim, who's really built a really interesting, technology or a platform around positive psychology, and I really encourage everybody to have a look at it. positiveprime.com. And, she's got an amazing background, and to really connect her with the neurotechnology, neurotech space, looking at BCI mapping with EEG. So helped introduce her with BrainCo, which came out of Harvard Innovation Labs, with a product called Focus Calm. So we're actually currently already going through a full integration with Focus Calm on synergizing deeply with a combined solution with Positive Prime. So, it was really about looking at stage left solutions and how do we combine and build 1 + 1 is greater than 11 type innovation. There were a lot of those ideas which we had to sort of look at how to really bring more ideas which can take off for these startups. Another great startup we had there was Comtech. So Peter Thompson, who's built this great device called Kaima. So working closely with him, and again, my background being in hardware and designing smart devices earlier. So something close to my heart. It's something where really, we focused a lot around ideas around the total experience. So something I call the 2P, the total user and product experience. And it's where really we see hardware, software, content, and services all sort of working in tandem very closely to integrate something a lot more powerful. So, Kaima is actually a kind of an empathetic biometric technology. It's kind of a smart speaker plus plus with holographic audio. So it uses biofeedback to help customize, sound and light sort of frequency healing through the device. So I encourage everybody to keep an eye out for this device, which will be launched in a few months' time, mid this year, roughly, I think is the time frame. So that was another great one to work with the pitch and really build that story a lot more powerfully, to look at the storyline around it. Then, of course, other startups I'm trying to think of from, we work closely, of course, MVD. Kara will talk certainly very much about that, minimum viable data, which you and, Kara have done a great job on. Then it was, we had a range of, people, sort of individuals who aspiring to build startups and do new things. So we had folks like Camilla Sunshine and David Lowe guiding them around kind of a platform around wellness coaching and looking at considerations around how to build a more optimal sort of strategy in their and being more focused very much in the delivery of their ideas. We had other companies like Life Rhythms from the US, Olu, who's I think based in Atlanta, and again he looked at a platform for lifestyle kind of disease management and looking at aggregated data around with wearables, and then he pivoted very much around the cardio sort of space, cardiac sort of heart disease element space. Other companies like from Queensland we had was Cody Kids, Marga and Louis, who were working on have been working on this online exercise for kids, helping them with coordination. So again, helping them to connect them with investment sort of ideas and building their pitch was also I think some value that we provided. Of course, your startup, Troy, with I Am Connected, I think there have been a lot of great ideas, and having folks like Jonathan Banks, who's now part of your training there, there've been a good integration of ideas. David Titiu from Linkmate, doing a peer-to-peer social app from I think University of Melbourne, has also done some really good things around mental health. And then one other startup that I was working closely more with was Sensor Guided Living, SGL. Paul, who's been looking at this performance tracking of movement and detection, and helping him really with ideas on focusing on aged care more deeply, connecting him to the Remarkable Accelerator, which is for disability tech. And so he actually then, with a team, we sort of pitched at a designathon at Remarkable and got the first prize there, even a 5K sort of Kickstarter for that. And then now is entering the Remarkable Accelerator, in the process of doing that, which will give another good injection for capital to really focus on building that solution. So yeah, that's a bunch of examples there from what we did. But I think it was really looking at this whole diverse space of mental well-being. And as I think the trends we've been talking, and Paolo was saying, what we've really seen is COVID has accelerated the speed of acceleration of well tech. And having this diverse range of people, just connecting dots amongst them and looking at what other elements we could bring on board, because many people at different levels of their maturity, it was great to have those pitch events regularly and a lot of good knowledge and wisdom share amongst each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the key, is like getting involved in something like that for all the founders that are on the call, because you then have the extension of everybody else's network that can support you as well. It's no longer just you. And as a founder, it can be quite a lonely journey. you're able to then leverage off each other's support, but then networks, and like getting connected into Remarkable has been transformational for Paul, and the support that you've given Kim and connecting to Focus Calm, and even I believe you're doing a research project through UTS in Sydney as well. So
that's right.
Yeah, so lots of great wins as a result of that. You're a sought after thought leader in the wearable space, or in this exponential technology space, probably more specifically, as a faculty member for the Global Singularity University. What wellness technologies are you most excited about globally?
Right. So yeah, I mean, in the wearable space, I've kind of dubbed this movement called Wear to Able, and that's actually where we did a few fashion shows, wearable tech fashion shows of exponential technologies at Singularity U global summits here in Sydney and Costa Rica. Did one just before the pandemic sort of struck, and just being able to sort of unify and bring a lot of the different technologies, which are exponential technologies. So we're really referring to AR, VR, MR, XR, so that sort of space. And I, Trip, for example, which incubated very much at Transformative Tech, one of the companies I was closely involved with launching here in Sydney. We were also in the VR space called Relax VR. So again, using beautiful multimedia and the right meditation integration of voiceover and music to integrate along those lines. And the Trip, for example, which has really done extremely well. TRIPP, and then they've been quite instrumental in looking at new ideas. They've recently actually just merged with or acquired Evolve VR, which is the largest meditation community in virtual reality and all space VR. So there've been some interesting growth patterns happening there. Of course, people are aware of so many other devices and technologies, like from wristband wearables, from Apple Watch right through to Aura rings and so forth. But I see neurotech has been a very key domain of focus. And here we're really talking about, even the growth of that in terms of evolving towards like Elon Musk's company, that company called Neuralink. And a lot of the work that I've also, while I was at Remarkable, also as a mentor, one of the companies we, did a lot of work with on TDCS, which is similar to Neuralink for disability tech. So using transcranial direct current stimulation or alternate current stimulation, there's a lot of potential there, I feel, which is not just reading brain waves, but actually influencing them and with a low electrical signal, for example. So a lot of research happening in that space. Interoperability with wellness into every other sector. And that's kind of where I've been very passionate about in looking at future smart cities, smart living, smart homes. How do we integrate biophilic design, wellness architecture? And more recently, I've actually been involved with an interesting, there's been a club wellness, Club W, which has been launched here, not far from where I live in the Sutherland Shire in Sydney, which integrates things like the Somadome, which is a meditation pod, and has binaural beats, has mood lighting, and a few other interesting integrations with it. And there's a whole bunch of other devices and tools there. And we've actually been discussing how wearables can also play a role, and outables from that sense of IoT or Internet of Things. So I think that model that you mentioned earlier, very much what healthcare really is evolving from is that old sick care model to a very proactive well-being or wellness model, which also integrates a lot of ancient wisdom practices and elements to it. So, for example, I've recently also been doing a more detailed course on Ayurveda, which is a 5,000-year-old, sort of, you can say, technology and a way of life and holistic wellness related. And we see a lot of those touch points. And I also did about a month ago a deeper test with Biome, looking at my gut, biome and many other facets. So that has given me very deep insights around, mitochondrial sort of system and my biological age and many other different facets. So we're seeing a whole bunch of different elements come together in, with exponential technologies, and certainly AI and machine learning and deep learning, where big data analytics and all plays a very key role too, in terms of how do you really use all that data, because there's so much you can collect with wearables. Unless you really use that data and create big insights and subsequently take big actions from there, there's no, meaning to it in that sense.
Too much information, bro.
Thanks, Raj, there's like someone said, there's a whole wealth of information that you've just downloaded on us there. And so like, appreciate you. I'm going to let you go back and relax. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
No worries. I'll be here in audio, so I'll stick on. No problems.
Yeah, appreciate that. So thanks, Anuraj. And you know, this space is really exploding, and like it's great to have you as a resource in this ecosystem to be able to help us keep abreast with the changes that are happening. So thanks, Anuraj. So I'm going to move on to Kara now. Kara, you have an extensive background in research, like I mentioned earlier, health technology, and over recent years, you've been the Transformative Technology Australia researcher in residence. We've done a project with the Hopkins Centre. You're an adjunct fellow at the Hopkins Centre as well. You're a mentor for a number of health tech accelerator programs such as Luminax and Sunramp on the Sunshine Coast. Presently, you're working full-time at the University of Melbourne in a health innovation role where you develop partnerships with the aim to validate digital health solutions. You've got your own consultancy called Minimal Viable Data, or MVD, not to be confused with MVP. So a few questions. Firstly, can you tell us what you think's missing from the wellness tech sector as a whole?
Thank you so much, Troy, and thanks for the introduction. I just want to say thank you to Anuraj too. Every time I hear all the technology that you love, I get so excited about this space. It's brilliant. So definitely the wellness revolution is a revolution for the people, right? I've worked in hospitals and health services, I've worked in government, I've worked in state-based digital health agencies. And even though we know there's a real need to focus on wellness, and COVID has increased people's knowledge about the importance of wellbeing, I think that it's really individuals that are making the change. It's not our institutions. And so when you ask me the question, what do I think is missing? It's not so much that institutions don't want to do the best for patients and don't, you know, they really do want to support people with their physical health, with their mental health, but they really are in Australia anyway, and in a lot of countries, highly regulated environments. And because of that regulation, devices that they use need to have evidence behind them. So the wellness sector is a sector that if you have a good idea and you're entrepreneurial, you can move into. And that's a great thing, because what I think it does is it brings a whole lot of ideas and energy into the space. But if you want to work within the existing institutions, and I'm not saying you do, you have to generate an evidence base to show your product works. So Anuraj, I really liked your 2P. Can you run me through that again? It was total user something experience?
Yeah, total user and product experience.
Yeah, total user product experience. Now, you mentioned 4 things, but one of the things that you didn't mention was, does this, you know, digital health solution make me better, right? You talked about the user experience, which is great, but what about the actual outcomes of using, you know, the device, the ring, the app, you know? So I think as the researcher in residence for Transformative Technology in Australia or Australasia, I've really been trying to share with people that going and collecting an evidence base, you know, and doing it at several points throughout your startup or throughout your business's journey is really the way to demonstrate that your product will last and has a positive lasting benefit. And it also means that you can be really ethical about your product. You can go out there and say, we genuinely know that we're helping people. Why? Because we're measuring it. So I feel that's my call out to people, that if you can, go out there, work with researchers, even, you know, there's a lot of information out online. At Minimum Viable Data, we have a framework that you can work through. You know, really think about strategically gathering evidence about your device, because that is then the best way for you to market your product. Yeah.
I love this, because when we talk about the wellness sector, some more mainstream type folks, they can have a judgment that it's quite esoteric, right? When we talk about because we're talking about things that we can't quite quantify yet. But the thing is, with these emerging exponential technologies, more and more we're able to quantify that it actually does what it says, what we actually feel, and we know it actually does. And so what you're suggesting is like capturing data along the way so that you can validate, in that data that you capture, it builds momentum and you can take it into the next phase of the commercialization journey. I think it's genius because it's, yeah, like you were saying, does it actually work? It makes a big difference when we come to marketing it. So like there's two different paths as part of MBD. And one is the clinical route. One is the well-being route. With like either of those paths, there may be a cause to like work with a research partner and like a university. Like Anuraj mentioned that Kim is now partnering with UTS to do a research project, which then once they get some sort of evidence base, if that's what it turns out, well, then they can use that as marketing, which is really powerful. Like, what advice would you have for founders to help them connect with researchers or universities?
Yeah, so I think one of the easier way to do it is to be really judicious about the accelerators that you join, and look for accelerators that have clinical partners or have links into universities and have networks with researchers, because I think that that's really important. I really think that don't just think of Australia as the only place to test your product and to do research on your product. I think what you need to do is make a genuine connection with a researcher who is interested in what you've got to offer. And it can be, someone in the US, someone in Europe, someone in Asia. And then once you've established that relationship, you can start to talk about research. One of the things that you will need for research is money, to conduct the studies or to hire research assistants or, just to have lab space. So that is always a consideration. And obviously researchers with a better track record in research have a greater, opportunity to get grants. But yeah, you want to look for the people that are converted, that are genuinely interested in wellbeing. And there's also lots of stages of research you can do. So all the way from, really at the start, confirming that, your initial ideas have validation. You can go out and do your own interviews and ask, 10 critical people or 10 people who are interested, in the space, what they think of your idea, all the way through to running, fairly comprehensive cohort studies with universities in sort of more controlled environments. So you've got to choose the research, you've got to choose the research level or the research project for the stage that you're at as a researcher or as a product as well. And the framework helps you do that. But yeah, I think connecting also with Transtech Global and the community there and reaching out through those networks can really help.
Yeah, so even like our citizen-led research projects, so we can do our own pilot projects which help to inform the next stage, like whether we should actually go to the paid research with the university level. There's a lot of research that we can do on our own that's still valid, that you can use in your marketing, particularly in the wellness tract, right? Yeah.
So from a legal regulatory framework perspective, the Therapeutic Goods Administration is not regulating wellness tech at the moment. So they may later, but at the moment you can go and do trials of your own technology with your own customers, seek feedback and use it for improvement. And you can use it for marketing. However, if you want to do the more formal process and you want objective evidence that somebody else says that your product is good, that's where you would want to partner with a research organization.
So like clinical trials is what you're looking at that point?
Yeah, look, it could be a feasibility trial, which is more about do people like it and will they use it? Versus then once that happens and you've done that, then you think about, okay, now can we generate the data to show that this thing actually works? But I think also the traditional model of research really does need to be shaken up. And I feel that with the accumulation of large data sets, we're going to be able to mine those data sets to look for outcomes for our users and for our patients. So it is, you know, there are going to be new methods that we develop in the future. And I think there's some really exciting things to happen. And I don't think the model of having, you know, running a trial over 2 years and getting one group that has it, the intervention, and one group that doesn't have it, I don't think that's going to necessarily be the way of the future, but it is the current.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Cara. I appreciate your insights. Having recently moved to Melbourne, how's the job going? How's Melbourne Uni?
Yeah, it's really good. We are running a business in the university. So my job is to be a funnel for the ideas and for the partners, and also to find people who want to join our educational programs. So it's all very exciting and I'm really enjoying it. But it's great also to be part of this community, because I'm very passionate about making sure that, you know, we do everything we can for people who are struggling. So thanks for letting me be part of it.
Well, they're lucky to have you, and we're lucky to have you. So thanks, Cara. I'm going to move on to Dren now. So Dren, you're a program director at Luminax, which is an accelerator for the Australian health tech startups. You're in your first cohort, like I mentioned, last year, 2021. Applications are open for cohort 2 in a few days, 4 days, the 28th.
Yeah.
And so if you wouldn't mind, just start by telling us a little bit about, you know, the program Luminax. I'm curious to sort of know what percentage of your first cohort you would have considered wellness tech as opposed to, or wellness focused as opposed to health focused. Maybe if you could start with that, and then maybe lead into just telling us a little bit more about the program generally.
Yeah, great to hear from Cara as well. She was involved as a mentor as well in the 2021 cohort, Luminax. So the program is a 14 weeks accelerator program actually, and it has quite a wide services. So it's kind of educational. It's guidance, it's network, and now finally this year we will have funding as well. We're focusing in health and wellness, includes health tech, med tech. This year we're including biotech and sports tech as well. In terms of percentage of wellness, I believe we had around 40% or 4 out of 10 startups last time that were, I would say, yeah, wellness focused. However, I mean, they can fall within health and within wellness, but they mostly post wellness, post health. Can mention some of them. For example, virtual psychologist is kind of tackling the mental health through delivering scalable services to those who find mainstream services too confronting and embarrassing, and then instead of the call, you kind of message instead, and then they operate Australia and now in Philippines as well, or Able Digital Wellness. So they're kind of in the physical health. So they mainly support people with disability, providing packages of physical health trainings and exercise and nutrition packages and things like that. And another one which is interesting is Onkana, which is, it's kind of a digital health and well-being experience for those living with cancer. The founder also is one of the experienced through cancer, and then like many of these startups that were part of Luminax are very passionate about what they do, and that's what makes LuminaX and also us working on it so something to be passionate about. Another one, which is Comfort Quest. It's kind of a gamified platform. Takes the fear out of nesting medical procedures for children. So again, it's a prevention anxiety kind of like ultimately like a wellness platform for children. So just mentioning 4 of these, kind of the last cohort, and I would say the applications in general were like at this mark, like 40% out of like of all the applicants were in the health wellness space. But as I mentioned, so LuminaX is an in-person accelerator. We managed to deliver it last time in person, which was a bit tough, but still it was fully delivered, and I guess it was a successful pilot, and therefore we started the second cohort, and we're on good track to deliver a sustainable accelerator that will last for years. And luckily this year we managed to secure a fund of $500,000. So all startups, 10 startups coming to the accelerator will get $50K each. And then, as I said, it's kind of an intensive program. Every week there's a topic, starting from customer discovery, and then two modules which are interesting as well is AI discovery, where they play with their data and see what their opportunities there are, and then the AI execution as well. So basically this year we're focusing on investor readiness as well, because we noticed that to grow you can't do anything without funding. So I guess even if you're not keen at this stage, we kind of like want to push it so that they could grow faster than they were planning to initially. I believe we have around 25 mentors. We have coaches in residence, including Calvin Ross, which is one of the best entrepreneur we have around here, an AI expert as well. Just with Calvin and his team, he worked last time with one of the startups, with virtual psychologist in this case, delivering, enhancing what they already had with another product, kind of an AI assistant that makes those mental health services scalable for the Philippines market, which makes it easier to give to a wider population. Like we're talking about thousands of people that can access it using that technology. So Calvin and Tamara Miles will be coaches in residence for this year, and then every week there will be mentoring as well as other services, perks of I think 50K of just services that they can access to. So yeah, we're excited. We're launching it next Monday, we highly recommend wellness businesses to apply. We're expecting this year to have interstate applicants. So now with the borders open and actually with the funding that we're providing, so they can use that funding as well to come here 14 weeks. It will end up with a demo day on the week 14. But I guess what's important and what's crucial and what's the best that we can offer is the network that we have. So Kara mentioned how crucial are connecting to universities and to hospitals. So this year we've linked with some good partners, including Mater and Bond and some new partners. So I guess Accelerate in general is more about that tapping into that network, and then because every startup has different the different needs and it can be in stage 1, which is, or class 1, health startup, a wellness startup. It can be just a simple platform that it doesn't need any research study for that. However, I believe half of them or more would need so. So I guess it's important the network they're in. And yeah. So I guess that's kind of. I'm just posting the link, which will be open. So the applications will be open Monday next week, and yeah, look for the details there and apply.
So just to confirm, it's in person, so there's no virtual option. So they'd have to move to the Gold Coast, which would be terrible, right? 14 weeks on the Gold Coast, but for 14 weeks that I'd be on the Gold Coast.
That's right. So all the mentors will be here, all the coaches would be here, and all the participants will be here. So yeah, we wanna create something great and connect with what we have also here. And I believe we were successful last time, and this will become even bigger now than what we have now. So yeah, it's in person, and I think it's just a 2 days commitment of for 14 weeks. So it will be Monday, Tuesday of activities for that.
There's something special about when you actually commit to that immersion for 14 weeks and just make that the priority and just cut out the other external worlds, and actually moving to a location to do that would only result in growth and significant focus. So I hope you get some fantastic applications. I look forward to hearing more about it, and I hope some of the people on the call tonight apply. We might move now. If anyone has on the panel got any final things to say, please let's do that now. Otherwise, we might move into the breakout rooms, which would be an opportunity just to introduce yourself. We'll have about 10 minutes, so we won't have a lot of time, but it'd be great just to sort of get to know each other. If you've got any specific questions for the panel members, it's a good opportunity to ask that as well. Like I said, we only got 10 minutes, but we might do that now. Panel, do you have any further comments before we jump into the breakout rooms?
No,
I just have a quick comment and like a wrap up quickly on all that we have discussed, and thank you, Troy, first of all, for organizing these events, because just listening to everyone on the panel, I realized how important it is, on the one hand to have a like the importance of understanding that you're really solving the problem that you say you're solving, right? Like important, the huge necessity of clinical trials, as Kara mentioned, on the other hand as well, like the importance of community that Anuraj and Dren were mentioning, because in the end, all that you can build is related to, the people that you can serve, but also people that can support you. And that's when, when you can really expand with your business, and when you can really make an impact in the world. So just quickly mentioning those, those two things that I just got myself from this panel, because I love these sessions. I always learn so much.
Thanks, Paula. Yeah, we are super lucky to have such a stellar panel, and it's just great to see a beckoning wellness sector here in Australia connected to a broader global ecosystem. So for all those people on the call that are in this space, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We tend to have an event with Transformative Technologies Australasia every month, so you should receive an email or a notification to let you know when our next event is, and they take all different shapes and forms. So I just wanted to end by thanking the panel members. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Anuraj, particularly for making the effort to be here. Shows your passion and dedication to this industry. It'd be definitely worth connecting you to Dren. I feel like you'd be an incredible resource for Luminax. Thank you, Dren, for sharing and to bring us up to speed with what you're doing at Luminax. It's an exciting program. And thanks, Kara, as always. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time out. Thank you, David, from Silicon Beach. David, did you want to say anything by way of wrap up?
Yeah, look, thanks for everyone for joining us tonight, and would really love to see some of you again at one of our other events that we're running. If you have a startup or you have a service that is related to startups and is supporting startups, please feel free to sign up for our pitch night and give us just a 90-second pitch of what you do and what we can do for you, or the community can do for you, and see where it takes you. And if you would like to connect, please find us on social media or the internet.
And you do a lot for the ecosystem. So a lot of what you do is, you know, free. And I don't think doing everything for free in the startup space is ideally fantastic, because then we have a sense of expectation. But a lot of the work that you do, the services that you offer, are incredible. They give incredible exposure. I got to participate in a pitch event recently. So I do encourage everyone here to get involved in Silicon Beach, Australia. And I look forward to collaborating on an event at some point in the not so distant future as well. And does anybody else want to say anything? Panel members want to say anything before we wrap? Thank you, Paula. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. And I look forward to seeing you at the next event. We'll send an email wrap up with a recording, and you'll see updates moving forward. Thank you.